Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. A mother named Heather Pingle died after saving her 4-year-old son from a pit bull. During the fight, she was able to wrap a cord around the dog and strangle it, but not before losing both of her arms and a significant amount of blood. In 1992, a 79-year-old woman purchased a McDonald's coffee, but accidentally spilled it on her lap and suffered third-degree burns. She ended up suing the company, arguing the temperature was far too high, and ended up winning $3 million. This video shows the last living polio survivor from the 1950s, Paul Alexander. He still uses his iron lung all day, every day. There are spiders that capture bats and large birds and eat their living bodies. Llama spit is actually projectile vomit. Being the second most fragile organ in your body, a single punch can completely rupture your liver. A study conducted over several years found that the TSA failed to catch 95% of guns, drugs, and other illegal paraphernalia going through airports.
So this is why you should never try to help someone cover up a crime. This tragic case of 13-year-old Tristan Bailey is a perfect example. 14-year-old Aiden Fucci took Tristan's life, and his own mother tried to cover up his murder and thought that he would get away with it. On that night of May 9th, 2021, Aiden stabbed Tristan 114 times in a wooded area close to his home. When investigators discovered that Aiden was the last person with Tristan, they took a look at his home surveillance footage and saw that Aiden's mother was washing the same jeans he wore the night he took Tristan's life. But not only that, there is also video evidence of Aiden's mother telling her son that there was blood on his jeans, insinuating that she knew he had committed the crime. Aiden's mother was charged with tampering with evidence, but only got 30 days in jail. And during her hearing, Tristan's mother spoke to her and said this:
"I could never put someone else's child in harm's way for my own, no matter the consequences. The choices that you made on Mother's Day, May 9, 2021, will haunt me for the rest of my life. I question whether you grieve the devastating murder of our daughter Tristan by your son Aiden Fucci, or if you just grieve him being caught and held accountable. What I cannot understand is how you knew our child was missing. Your son was the last known person to see her, and yet you see something suspicious on his jeans and try to wash it out. All the while, you did not know if our daughter was injured or even alive, but you did nothing to help."
Now, how far would you guys go to cover up for your child? Because this is insane.
Police have arrested a funeral homeowner after the body of a woman laid in a hearse for 2 years. Cops were greeted with a foul odor when they opened Miles Harford's hearse, with the remains of 30 more people stashed inside a crawl space in his home. Denver police said the woman's family are in shock. They believed that they were processing their grief with the remains they had, and then they come to find out that that was not the person that was processed, and in fact, she was being held in that hearse.
This is by far one of the worst ways somebody has ever died, and whatever you do, don't look up the video. This is the most disturbing sporting accident I ever came across. On January 19th, 1991, the Lamberthorne race was cancelled due to a horrible skiing accident. Gernot Rangstandler, who was a 20-year-old contestant, was going downhill at full speed when he suddenly lost control as he was approaching the finish line. And he then slammed head-on into safety nets at extremely high speeds. This then trapped one of his skis inside the net, which resulted in his right leg almost being completely torn off. He also fractured his pelvis and was literally ripped in half. The impact caused serious internal injuries, fractures, and nerve damages. He was then transported by a helicopter to a hospital in Switzerland, where he received several blood transfusions, but despite receiving numerous blood transfusions, both during and after the operation, he later passed away from severe pelvic bleeding. The video is extremely graphic, and I'll explain it to you right now. In the video, you see Gernot going down a ski mountain when he suddenly goes airborne. He then collides with the safety net mid-air while going full speed, and his body then starts sliding down the mountain, but at this point you immediately notice something is wrong. As his body is spinning out of control, a trail of blood is following him, staining the entire mountain in the process. And at this point, you see a lot of blood, and you also see Gurnett almost ripped in half. His body then stops at the bottom of the hill as a pool of blood forms around him and people come to help. This video is just awful because it's one of those things that you can't imagine ever happening, but it does. How does a safety net rip somebody's body in half? It's just honestly insane, and please don't look up the video because it's extremely disturbing.
Everyone should know about what's happened to 22-year-old Laken Riley. Laken was a junior nursing student, and on Thursday morning, she alone went for a run near UGA's intramural fields. She never returned home, and her roommate called police concerned at 12:07 p.m. As we know, within 30 minutes of that call, police tragically found Laken's body in a wooded area near the pedestrian loop. This video shows you just how close she was to the trail, with paramedics saying she, quote, was unconscious and not breathing and had received visible injuries. Paramedics reportedly tried to give her CPR, but it was too late, and an autopsy has ruled her death a homicide by blunt force trauma to the head. Now, on Friday, all classes at UGA were canceled, and investigators focused in on an apartment that backs up to the trails where Laken was found. And they've said it was a multitude of evidence that led them there, and they went on to place 26-year-old Jose Ibarra under arrest. Again, as we know, Jose didn't know Laken, and police believe he, quote, woke up that day with bad intentions. He, his brother, his wife, and her child all actually illegally crossed the border in September of 2022, where they were met by border security and processed for immediate removal. They then, quote, claimed reasonable fear of returning to Venezuela and were released into the U.S. on parole due to lack of detention space. Now from here, we know Jose and his family made their way up to New York, but the couple actually split this past November after he was arrested for endangering the welfare of their 5-year-old. This time, the NYPD reportedly released him before a detainer could be issued, and he moved down to Georgia to live in that apartment with his brother. He was arrested several more times there over the past few months, and his brother was caught a few weeks ago presenting a fake green card to UGA. He was trying to provide identification to work at the dining hall, but was reportedly fired before he ever got paid. Today, Jose is being held on murder charges, and his brother is being held on fraud charges. Jose's wife says that she only married him to help build their asylum cases, but that she doesn't think he's capable of physical violence. She thinks that there could be a misunderstanding, but that if he did do this to Laken and her family, he should face the consequences. Now, obviously what happened to Laken is terrifying, and it's something that young women everywhere should be aware of. If you would like to support her family during this time, the link will be in my bio.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 31. Ever since she was a little girl, Jewel Shuping wanted to be blind. So in 2006, she poured drain cleaner in her eyes and blinded herself permanently, and now she says that she's happier than ever. Thanks to FDA regulations, only 10 insects and 35 fruit fly eggs are allowed in a single box of raisins. Cavities are actually contagious, and they can be passed from one person to another by kissing or sharing food. If you've ever donated blood, that blood could be in someone else's boner right now. The man in this photo is an American college student named Otto Warmbier, who's begging for mercy as he's on trial for allegedly stealing a poster in North Korea. Luckily, he returned back to the US, but he had irreversible brain damage, dying just 6 days later. In 2008, Bruce Pardo snuck into his ex's Christmas party and torched it with a gift-wrapped flamethrower. These 5 Australian children were playing in a bouncy castle when suddenly it was lifted 30 feet in the air by a gust of wind. Unfortunately, they were thrown out of the castle mid-air and plummeted to their deaths.
Let me tell you why this bird is the biggest menace to society you've never heard of. This is a southern giant petrel. Its nickname is a stinker because they have the same up diet as vultures with none of the redeeming qualities. This dumpster tweety takes all kinds of meat, rotting, decaying, disease, it don't matter, they don't discriminate. And just like vultures, when this overgrown corpse pigeon finds a carcass, it starts eating it ass first. They also delete and eat penguin chicks, and they've even been known to drown gannet chicks by holding them underwater until their soul gets evicted. Basically performing a baptism and an abortion for the price of one. Also, the giant in her name is because the biggest ones can have a wingspan of nearly 7 feet, meaning you're probably shorter than the length of its wings. It's not even the worst thing about them. If the petrel thinks you're too close, it'll projectile vomit the contents of whatever disrespect was marinating in its garbage disposal of a stomach. As if getting sprayed with half-eaten seal wasn't enough, it's actually so acidic that it can eat at the waterproof coating of seabirds' feathers. Meaning some of the seabirds that get hit can't swim. Since they have sea literally in their name, that's a dick move. Also, the red face is because they spend so much time violating the corpses of other animals. They're basically seagulls on crack. Those are the eyes of a bird that will never see heaven.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. When whales reach a certain age, they will eventually be too weak to swim back to the surface for air, so they will just suffocate to death and eventually sink to the bottom of the ocean. When you die, you will be aware that you are dead until the moment your brain fully ceases function. When getting laser eye surgery, you can smell the parts of your eyes being shaved down. During the French Revolution, where the guillotine was introduced, the people to be executed fought to be first, as the blade would dull after multiple uses, and wouldn't cut a head clean off at the first attempt. If you're male, after you die, your loved ones can have a doctor electrocute your prostate to force you to ejaculate for sperm. Humans have enough bite power to bite off their own finger, bone and all. The only thing stopping us is our brain's natural safety factor. A deceased human body can take between 24 to 48 hours to decompress, releasing the remaining blood, urine, and fecal matter, depending on the situation, position, and method of death. If you die on a submarine, they put your body in the fridge with all the food. If not, up a torpedo tube. It's actually common that corpses will periodically burp, fart, gasp, groan as gases escape through the mouth and anus. When you get burned by electricity, it actually leaves marks shaped like lightning on your skin. Hit the plus sign if you want to learn more facts.
This depraved pedophile just couldn't stop committing crimes. This is 66-year-old Karamat Mansourabadi. So Karamat is from Wisconsin, and in 2023, February 2023 to be exact, reports came in that he had assaulted a child. Obviously, the police wanted to follow this up. They went to his home, they conducted an interview, and they felt like that was enough evidence to arrest Karamat. So he was arrested for the essay of a child, but he was then let out of jail. But something that investigators didn't know is that they had found even more evidence when they searched his property. You see, in February of 2023, when investigating the essay claim, they took Karamat's cell phone into evidence. But it was a few months later when they actually started going through the cell phone when they found some disturbing evidence. On Karamat's cell phone, they found over 30 CP or CSAM images that he had downloaded from the dark web. So he was then rearrested, brought back into custody, and his bail was then set at $1.8 million, ensuring that he wouldn't be able to leave jail until his trial. So the trial hasn't happened here yet, but I really hope that this guy gets put away for a very extended period of time.
Yolanda Saldivar, the woman who murdered Selena Quintanilla in 1995, is up for parole next year in March. But before her release, she will be coming out with a docuseries called Selena and Yolanda: Secrets Between Them. And people are not too happy about this because Yolanda has shown a little remorse for what she did and has only tried to justify her actions. Regardless of the secrets Yolanda will be exposing, people will not believe her because she's been so dishonest and just not a good person in general. But Yolanda claims that people deserve to know the truth, which if there are any other truths to be told, why wait almost 30 years? According to Yolanda and her family, everything wasn't as it seemed and there is way more to the story, which I don't believe. Apparently, Yolanda will be revealing all of the details of her working relationship and friendship with Selena, which I don't understand the point of this documentary because you had your day in court. What can you possibly say at this point that will help your case? Even if you have some sort of explanation as to why you did that, murder is never the answer. But I'm curious to know what Yolanda has to say after 29 years.
This woman claimed she was being arrested for being too pretty. She's now been convicted of murder. Hind Bastami is a 29-year-old woman from Las Vegas. In 2022, she was arrested at Harry Reid International Airport after leaving a restaurant without paying. When she was arrested, she told people that she was being harassed by police because they'd never seen anybody as pretty as her. She was apparently intoxicated at the time. She told them she was going to spit on them and she accused them of trying to R her. A few months later, she was arrested for a far more hideous crime. Dispatchers received a 911 call from her on the 26th of October 2022. It was around 2:30 a.m. She stated, "I think I killed my mummy," and she was referring to her 61-year-old mother. Her mum was Afaf Pasanen. She admitted on the call to breaking a glass table over her mum's head. She stated on the phone to the dispatcher, "I broke the table on her head and I cut her neck off." Officers found the killer in California covered in blood. Her mum's body was at her home in Vegas. Hind stated that the pair had had an argument over cigarettes and it had escalated. She was charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon, but she pleaded guilty but mentally ill. She was eventually sentenced to 15 years in prison.
Horror movie facts that will haunt your nightmares. Coraline. The soundtrack in the movie is a French children choir singing. Surprisingly, they aren't actually singing in French. They're singing in a completely made-up language. If you look on the wall of the dining room in the other mother's home, you'll see 3 portraits of silhouettes. These likely represent the 3 ghost children that appear later in the film. In the normal world, the boy is sad and has dropped his ice cream. But in the other world, he's happy and his ice cream is perfect. Mr. Babinski's blue skin may appear to be a design choice, but the badge he wears pinned to his shirt has a dark meaning. It was actually a real medal given to those who helped clean up the site of the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster. So if Babinski helped with the cleanup, his skin could be blue due to the radiation exposure. The back of the chair above where Coraline's doll sits features a small flower-shaped pattern. And this flower is almost exactly like the one on the back of Jack Torrance's chair in The Shining. The Welcome Home cake features a double loop on the O. And according to graphology, a double loop on the lowercase o means that the person who wrote it is not telling the truth. But on the cake, there is actually only one double loop, meaning that Coraline is welcome, but she is not home.
Here are the animals that you don't want to have a breath holding contest with, and fair warning, you may unfollow me at the end of this.
Animals you would not want to get into a breath holding contest with, and disclaimer, you're gonna unfollow me by the end of this video.
Now, the average person can hold their breath for about 90 seconds to 2 minutes, but hippos, on the other hand, can go for 5 minutes.
The average human can hold their breath from anywhere from 90 seconds to 2 minutes. The best can go for 4 minutes, anything longer and you probably have nothing to hold. Hippos can go for about 5 minutes without air.
But that's nothing compared to dolphins, though. They can hold their breath for 8 to 10 minutes.
Dolphins can stay underwater anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. They don't hold their breath like us, though, because dolphins have to remind themselves to breathe.
They don't hold their breath like me or you. They actually have to remind themselves to go up for air.
Sea lions and emperor penguins can dive for up to 20 minutes, and you'll never guess what animal can beat them out. Sloths can hold their breath underwater for 40 minutes. Don't ask me why, because nothing about this crawling carpet logistically makes sense.
Sea lions and penguins can dive up to 20 minutes, but that's nothing compared to this next animal. Sloths can actually hold their breath for 40 minutes, and I don't even know how that makes sense.
Also, they're 3 times faster in water than on land.
They're somehow 3 times faster in water than they are on land.
Full Volanator can survive 40 hours underwater by going into a state of suspended animation. If you flush him down a toilet, you didn't stop him, you just slowed him down, you better pray to God he doesn't remember your face.
Full Vieta spider can hold its breath up to 40 hours. So if you ever flush one of these down the toilet, just know it's coming right back up to bite you.
Contrary to popular belief, I actually don't have a problem with people making videos like mine or using the same facts, because, and I've said this before, I don't own animal facts. Y'all know how I feel about the ocean. Y'all think I went out into that salt season hydro-oxygen orgy and asked the whale how long he could hold us? No, that wasn't me. Now, when I feel some type of way is when you make it obvious. I'm talking about same opening line, same closing line, same jokes, same order. Now, but what gets me is, wouldn't it just take less effort to use your own words? I feel like you cut so many corners, you created more work for yourself. And don't get me wrong, she's not the first person, or the second person, or the third person, or you see where I'm going with this, but I almost never responded, and now I'm starting to think not responding is giving them the license to keep doing it. I don't know, man, but like if you're gonna do that, like at least change up some of the answers. Y'all ain't never copied Homer. Like, don't make it so obvious. Like, decorum, please. Well, unlike the animals in this video, I will not be holding my breath.
Breaking news, a 3-year-old is missing after his mother sent him to live with a random man for disciplinary reasons. 3-year-old Eli was last seen on Tuesday of last week. Authorities said they received a phone call from someone claiming to be the quote adult caretaker for Eli. The call was received shortly before 11 a.m. on Tuesday. During that call, the quote adult caretaker said that Eli was missing from the residence in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, and was last seen around 8 a.m. It was at that time a massive search was launched. In addition to that, an Amber Alert was also issued. 3-year-old Eli is still missing, however, his mother and the man he went to live with have since been arrested. During one of the hearings, he said that the mother, quote, intentionally sent the child for disciplinary reasons for more than a week to the residence. She was aware of the tactics used and the lack of care provided. This was an intentional thing by her. They also stated that the mother has not been honest while investigating his disappearance. She claimed the child was last in the care of the man who was supposed to be taking disciplinary action against him. At this time, authorities have not divulged the relationship between the mother and the man. Due to the case involving a minor, most of the information is sealed. Furthermore, investigators have not stated what they believe happened to Eli at this time. They have said, quote, since the moment Eli was reported missing, our law enforcement from local, state, and federal agencies, along with the dedicated volunteers and community members, have been working tirelessly around the clock to search every inch of our city and beyond. They are urging residents to check their homes for where a child might be able to hide. They continued by saying, quote, our search efforts continued throughout the night and will continue today on our city rivers. At this time, the mother has received a cash bond of $15,000. The male suspect in the case has received a cash bond of $20,000. The court commissioner said, quote, this case has drawn attention because we have a missing child involved. And that, of course, pulls at the court's feelings and emotions and heartstrings for the care of the child, but doesn't change the nature of the charges for any of the neglect case. At this time, they do believe it is a criminal investigation and are working with the FBI among other agencies. They have been able to bring in drones and canines from neighboring departments. They also confirm they are searching the Hickory Meadows landfill at this time for Eli. They're recommending that the boy's mother be charged with being party to the crime of child neglect. The male suspect in the case may be charged with child neglect. Both suspects are due back in court today. Two Rivers is a city in Wisconsin made up of about 11,000 people on Lake Michigan, and it's about 90 miles north of Milwaukee. Authorities have not provided any further details. As I stated, most of the information in this case is sealed. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.